Welcome to the On the Road RV Show. I'm John Marucci, creator of the On the Road YouTube channel that provides RV-specific videos to help enhance your travel experience. The purpose of the On the Road RV Show is to stay current on RV news, share ideas, tips, and resources. We'll start by covering a question from a YouTube viewer, then go over a recent experience I had while camping. After this, we'll cover RV news and end with our Spotlight segment. Feel free to comment below the video on anything covered in the show. Thanks for watching. Now let's get into our first segment. Now, the question segment of the show is about answering a question or looking at comments about a specific relevant topic. These are usually gleaned from viewers' follow-up questions or comments from various videos. So here we go. Diana V says, I was hoping on advice on which trailer to buy. We need your thoughts on it. So here's my response to Diana. It depends on several factors you should consider, including tow vehicle capacity, budget, how you plan to camp, how many people would normally be traveling with you, etc. For me, I have a half-ton truck, so I have a bunch of options in terms of trailer size. I usually camp at state parks with water and electric, so I don't need an RV to boondock off the grid. I work a lot remotely, so I need comfortable seating. So hopefully this gives you a starting point. Think about how you want to camp and what you need and what you have in terms of a tow vehicle, then look at budget. This will filter down your options pretty quickly. Thanks. This question highlights a common issue many first-time RV buyers face. Specifically, what RV should we buy? My response outlines some of the main issues anyone should consider before buying an RV. Number one is camping style. It makes a big difference if you plan to stay at full hookup sites or want an RV to do off-grid boondocking. Likely a 40-foot Class A motorhome won't work for serious off-grid travel. This highlights the largest single consideration for a newbie. How do you want to camp? Do you want to stay mainly at campgrounds with full amenities? Or just need a base camp to sleep in while exploring the outdoors? Once you focus in on how you want to camp, you can then look at what type of RV would best facilitate your camping style. For me, I work remotely quite a bit and like to do extended trips to escape the harsh winter weather up north. I like state parks as I think they give a very good return for the cost. Because I work remotely, I'm inside the trailer quite a bit. This is very different from summer camping where a trailer may only be used to sleep in, use the bathroom occasionally, or cook the occasional meal. For my style, I need a larger trailer, but one that doesn't require more than my half-ton Toyota Tundra can pull. This led to me buying a 29-foot Keystone Bullet 243 BHS that I currently own. The second consideration is people. A great question to ask is who will be regularly traveling with you. If you're single, you likely can get by with less space than a family of four. If it is you and your significant other, a couples camper or a small Class B may work fine. If every trip will be 2 adults with 2 kids, then you may consider a bunkhouse model travel trailer. The point here is that the RV choice should be informed by who will normally be traveling with you. The third consideration is frequency. One thing to consider is how often and for how long you plan to travel by RV. I'd argue that your RV needs should be determined by both how often you plan to use the RV and for how long during the average trip you plan to be out in it. If, for example, you only plan to use your RV for a few weekends a year, and for maybe one other week-long trip, you may be willing to buy a less expensive model or a smaller RV versus if you plan to full-time in an RV. The more often you're out and the longer time per trip likely means you'll want a larger, higher quality RV. The fourth consideration is tow vehicle. As mentioned, if you do go with a travel trailer versus a Class A, B, or C motorhome, you will need a vehicle to pull it with. Do you already have a truck or SUV that can tow significant trailer weight? Or are you starting from scratch? Also, depending on travel preferences and budget, it may be that you really would be better suited with a Class A, B, or C that doesn't require a tow vehicle. An entry-level trailer may only cost $20,000, but if you don't have a tow vehicle, it gets expensive pretty quickly. If you have a small SUV, you'll be limited on the size and weight of trailer you can tow safely. These trade-off considerations should all play into your purchase decision. As you can see, there's a lot to consider when buying an RV. and you'll want to think about these things before taking the plunge. One thing to remember is that you can always sell your RV if you missed it on what you thought you wanted. Often RV newbies try out a small entry-level RV only to find what they really wanted was something bigger or something more suited to off-grid camping. Part of this equation you just won't know until you try. Often you just don't know your camping style until you've tried things out. Adjustments are okay. Before we get into our next section of the show, we want to let you know about a great planning resource on johnmarucci.com. Did you know that some states allow their park campgrounds to be booked a year in advance, while others are as little as 90 days? This can make travel planning a real headache when trying to book a trip through different states. Our interactive state park booking map provides vital booking window information for state parks that will allow you to better plan your next great trip. You can even click right to each state's reservation website from the interactive map. Just visit johnmarucci.com and click on the resources page to find out more. I was recently camping at the amazing Blue Springs State Park near Orange City, Florida. This park sits along the Blue Springs Run, inlet of the St. Johns River, and is home to hundreds of manatees during the winter months. I had to do some laundry, and the laundry machines were a good distance from my campsite. The campground loop is rather large, and I had to pass the exit and re-loop in order to get to the bathhouse where the laundry machines were. Before I made the left turn onto the one-way loop road, a truck pulled out going the wrong way and we almost collided. It was fairly obvious and later confirmed that he had a site near the entrance. He didn't want to drive the one-way road and half-mile all the way around the loop to the exit he was so close to. He took the shortcut and wrong way out. Fortunately, we didn't collide as I saw him last moment before I started my turn on the loop. He waved rather sheepishly, and fortunately I withheld blasting the horn or using the Michigan salute. This incident reminded me of a time a while ago where I made a similar mistake due to impatience. I was camped fairly close to the entrance of the campground and didn't want to drive the half-mile one-way loop to exit. I saw the coast was clear and I could hightail it out without oncoming traffic. Unlike Blue Spring, when I did it, I could see the entire way that no one was on the road coming my way. What I totally forgot was the campsite marker. This particular campground had posts at the front of the driveway at each campsite with the campsite number on them. The heavy and deeply planted 4x4 post was below my door height of my truck. I turned right to shortcut out of the site and boom, I hit the campsite marker with the back passenger side of the truck. The passenger side of the truck is a notoriously blind area, and I pretty much made crunch metal out of the passenger side rear quarter panel. It wasn't a trip-stopping wreck, and the truck drove fine, but it did mean the passenger step and quarter panel had to be replaced. It didn't ruin the entire trip, but it did ruin the day for sure. So my obvious tip here is don't yield to impatience and take the shortcut you know that could have high risk. Remember you're camping and there really is no rush, including when exiting a campground. Next up is RV News. The RV News segment of the show is about getting up to speed on the latest RV news that may impact you. We look at various sources and try to boil the news down to a few main items to review. First up, traditional forms of travel continue to be hit hard. TSA checkpoint numbers are showing air travel is not recovering compared to prior year levels. For January 2021, for example, 23.6 million people traveled by air versus 61.9 million people in 2020. This is only a 38.1% year-over-year rate. This rate has held steady for the past several months besides the holiday period and doesn't bode well for the airline industry. This means likely more people will decide to travel by car or RV for vacationing going forward. Meanwhile, new and used inventories on RV Trader have increased over the past several months. Currently, new RV unit volumes for sale are now greater than at any time since May 2020 as manufacturers continue to recover production. The RV industry anticipates an 18.7% increase in sales in 2021 based on a recent RVIA road signs report as of December 2020. RVIA reported December RV shipments of over 40,000 units. This is compared to just over 27,500 units for December 2019. For all of 2020, total RV shipments were 430,000, compared to 406,000 in 2019, an increase of 6%. This made up for the almost total shutdown in production in April 2020 due to the pandemic. Travel trailers and fifth-wheel travel trailers both saw a 9% increase in production year over year. The largest percent increase in year-over-year production was in the Class B camper van segment, with a whopping 70% increase in shipments. Other segments, like Class A and C motorhomes, pop-up, and truck campers, all saw decreases in shipments for the year. Let's look at an RPod 179 update. Forest River discontinued the popular RPod 179 this past fall. A look at RV Trader revealed 26 new RPod 179 still for sale. This includes 10 2021 models, 7 2020 models, and 9 2019 models. Be aware that all of the 2019 and 2020 models, however, 16 in total, that are listed on RV Trader, are all at one dealership in Anchorage, Alaska. There are 9 2021 models located in the western U.S., likely all Hood River editions, and are very expensive. There appears to be only one new 2021 non-Hood River edition available currently. For those fortunate enough to currently own an RPod 179 like myself, take heart that you now have a limited quantity RV that is highly popular. The value of your travel trailer just increased. The least expensive used RPod 179 recently seen on RV Trader was a hair under $14,000. There's news from Airstream too. Airstream has recently announced the new Flying Cloud 30 FB office model that recognizes the needs of those working remotely. The new model has an office in the back campsite side of the trailer. The trailer offers, quote, dedicated office space, more connectivity, and power options than ever, and the amenities travelers need for a weekend trip or month-long jaunt. According to Airstream, quote, the dedicated workspace includes a comfortable office chair that slides into a recessed groove in the edge of the desk, giving owners the freedom to easily convert the space into a sleeping or relaxed area for one. Sliding drawers and storage cubbies provide organization, while a privacy divider and blackout curtain provides a measure of privacy while doing video calls on the road, unquote. So here's my take. While Airstream is taking a lead in offering dedicated office space, I think other manufacturers will follow suit shortly. There's a real shift to working remotely that is accelerated during the pandemic. Likely this trend will continue into the foreseeable future. I'm a bit more skeptical of RV sales projections for 2021 than the RVIA, based on the near-term economic situation and risks. If campgrounds have to shut down again, it may mean delays in RV purchases. Given the continuing and prolonged health crisis and the slow rollout of vaccines, I think purchases of larger items like RVs may be somewhat curtailed as the year goes on. However, manufacturers have large backlogs of orders, so it may be that the near 19% sales growth may occur. What do you think of these projections? Do you feel they're too lofty given the current economic environment? Before our final segment, we want to tell you about another great resource on johnmarucci.com. If you're brand new to traveling with an RV, we've curated a set of 12 beginner videos to help you get up to speed more quickly. These are all in one place on our resources page so that you can access each video and not lose your place. These cover everything from using a dump station to tire safety to setting up camp on a non-level site. These are free getting started resources and are available on johnmarucci.com. On to the Spotlight segment. We'll take a look at my latest favorite RV product. This time we'll cover the Oxygenics Fury RV Showerhead. One of the things you'll find out pretty quickly when RVing without full hookups is that you need to conserve water. There are two sources that use the most water. The first is washing dishes, and the second is showering. If you only have a 30-gallon gray water tank, this can fill quickly with dish and shower water if you don't adjust your habits. For showering, one way to reduce water consumption is by getting a shower head that reduces water flow but keeps water pressure. Let's take a look at a water usage test between a stock RV shower head, the Oxygenics Single Select Shower Head, and the Oxygenics Fury Shower Head. There are a few things we did to make the water usage test as fair as possible. First, we're using a city water source at the same campsite for all tests. The city water line has a water pressure regulator and a Camco water filter on the water intake line, which restricts water pressure to about 50 psi. We're using the indoor shower outlet with both hot and cold faucets turned on full when testing. We designed the test to see how long each shower head takes to expend 1 gallon of water. To do this, we first filled a dish tub with 1 gallon of water, then used painter's tape to mark this gallon level. Next, we tested the stock RV shower head and turned both the hot and cold faucets to full to see how quickly it would hit the gallon mark. As a baseline test, it took 1 minute and 2 seconds to output 1 gallon of water for the stock RV shower head, or a hair under 1 gallon per minute. The next test was to use the Oxygenics single select shower head. This shower head, which is a common model many RVers use to limit water usage, took 1 minute and 22 seconds to hit the 1 gallon mark, or approximately 0.73 gallons per minute. These are the baseline tests to weigh the multi-spray Oxygenics Fury model against. Since the Oxygenics Fury showerhead has 5 shower pattern settings and a water flow control, we did a series of water flow tests, one for each setting at full water flow and one test for each setting at half water flow. This way we would know exactly how much water was being used at each setting and what the effects would be of controlling the water flow with the control lever. Here are the results. Pattern 1 on the Fury model is a wide pattern. It took 1 minute and 8 seconds to expend 1 gallon of water at full water flow. This was slightly slower than the stock RV showerhead, but considerably quicker than the Oxygenics single select model. We were a bit surprised at the flow rate of 0.88 gallons per minute, that it wasn't at least as good as the traditional Oxygenics single select model of 0.73 gallons per minute. Remember, lower gallons per minute is better in terms of saving water. The pattern 2 test used the wide pattern from the last test with the inner holes enabled. This fuller flow used water slightly quicker and filled the gallon at 1 minute and 5 seconds, or a 0.92 gallon per minute rate. This would be as expected as more of the shower head holes were being used. The pattern 3 test used only the inner holes of the shower head. This actually had quite a bit of force and resulted in a slightly higher flow rate than the previous test. The gallon is filled in only 1 minute and 3 seconds, or at a 0.95 gallons per minute rate. This is a bit unexpected as fewer holes were being employed. Pattern 4 is a setting on the shower head that mimics the traditional Oxygenics single select model, only pushing water out from the center of the shower head. This setting had the best result for the Fury with a time of 1 minute and 9 seconds to fill the gallon, or a 0.87 gallon per minute rate. Better than the other settings, but still far short of the traditional Oxygenics model. Finally, pattern 5 is a pulsating setting. This setting, when tested, came in just under 1 minute and 8 seconds to fill the gallon, or a 0.88 gallons per minute rate. Once again, the test showed that the Oxygenics Fury model, with flow set to full, landed slightly better than the stock RV showerhead, yet significantly worse versus the Oxygenics single select model. Now, if the Fury model only worked with full water flow, it would be an obvious choice to go with the traditional Oxygenics model when shopping for a showerhead to save water consumption. However, the Fury model allows for the adjustment of water flow using the handle lever on the back of the showerhead. And as we discovered, this is a game changer in terms of controlling water usage. Here are the same test results using the Fury model at half flow. Pattern 1 to fill a gallon took 1 minute and 48 seconds, or a 0.56 gallon per minute rate. Pattern 2, 1 minute and 32 seconds, or a 0.65 gallon per minute rate. Pattern 3, 2 minutes and 41 seconds, or 0.37 gallons per minute rate. Pattern 4, 2 minutes and 9 seconds, or 0.46 gallon per minute rate. And pattern 5, 1 minute and 26 seconds, or a 0.7 gallon per minute rate. What becomes apparent quickly when reviewing the partial flow test is that much water can be saved, or longer showers can be taken for the same amount of water when manually adjusting the water flow on the shower head. The benefit of this versus simply adjusting the faucet to allow less water is that of consistency. With the shower head set at half flow, you can know what you're using each time. When boondocking or at a campsite without sewer hookups, being able to take a longer shower is a luxury. This is where the Fury model shines in that you can choose a shower pattern and regulate the water flow to elongate your shower. As you can see, this is a game changer for your RV trips when you want to stay away from the dump station and stretch the use of your gray water waste tank. Another very important benefit is the use of the Fury model when you're camping with full hookups. If so, you can take advantage of the full water flow, whereas if you go to the traditional Oxygenics model, you're stuck with a restricted amount of water flow. In this way, the Fury model is much more versatile for any camping setting, as long as you understand how it works best for each situation. Either Oxygenics model, however, is an excellent choice to upgrade from the traditional RV showerhead. If interested, we have both of the Oxygenic models on our Amazon storefront. So that'll do it for today's show. If you haven't already subscribed, we'd love to have you join the On the Road team. You can also join us on Instagram and Twitter at John Marucci, and follow us on Facebook at John Marucci On the Road. Also, don't forget that you can get the very latest blog, podcasts, and RV resources at johnmarucci.com. This is John Marucci. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and so long for now.